In the heart of the towering Himalayas, where the air is thin and every step is a gamble with death, a woman dared to dream. Chantal Mauduit, the enigmatic and passionate French mountaineer, captured the world imagination as one of the few women to challenge the giants of the earth, Everest, K2, and Annapurna. Her story is not just one of alpine conquest, but of controversy, isolation, and a tragic end that still sparks debate. She was once celebrated, then criticized, and eventually silenced by the very mountains she loved. This is her story, a dream born in the Alps. Born on March 24th, 1964, in the elegant city of Paris, France, Chantal Mauduit was not destined for the mountains by birth, but by soul. As a child, she often escaped into nature, seeking solace in landscapes far grander than city streets. Her family vacationed in the French Alps, and it was there that her love for climbing took root. By her teenage years, she had already scaled Mont Blanc, the highest peak in Western Europe. But Chantal's dreams were not confined to the Alps. She was fascinated by stories of the Himalayas, the abode of snow, a mythical realm of gods and death. Inspired by legendary climbers like Reinhold Messner and Wanda Ruckiewicz, Chantal committed herself fully to mountaineering, not as a hobby but as a calling, breaking barriers in a male-dominated world. The 1980s and 1990s were still a time when women climbers were a rarity in high-altitude expeditions. Mountaineering remained an arena where machismo reigned, and women had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Chantal was undeterred. She was not only physically capable, but spiritually driven. She studied languages, fluent in French, Spanish, and English, and worked as a translator to fund her trips. She was beautiful, charismatic, and immensely photogenic, often drawing media attention that irked many of her male peers. In 1992, she summited K2, the world's second highest and arguably most dangerous mountain. It was a feat few could claim, and even fewer women. She made the climb without supplemental oxygen, further solidifying her credibility as a serious alpinist. That same year, she also conquered Shishapangma. It seemed the sky was no longer the limit for her. It was only the beginning, love and solitude on the peaks. Chantal's love life remained mostly private, though whispers in the mountaineering community hinted at brief romances with fellow climbers. But her first and foremost love was always the mountains. She often climbed solo or joined expeditions as the only woman, always striving to prove herself. Her intensity was misunderstood by many. Some admired her for her courage and focus. Others found her distant and difficult. She had a deep emotional connection with the Himalayas, particularly the Nepalese Sherpas, whose culture and humility she revered. She would often give generously to their families, supporting schools and local infrastructure. While her connection to the Sherpa people was genuine, some accused her of using this charity to polish her image, creating a growing rift between her public persona and private behavior. The dark side of fame. As her fame grew, so did resentment. Chantal's name often appeared in magazines and television interviews. Sponsors flocked to her, drawn by her image, the beautiful Frenchwoman defying death on the world's highest peaks. But within the tight-knit world of high-altitude climbers, where trust and mutual reliance were sacred, whispers began. Some accused Chantal of putting herself at risk without consideration for her team. Others claimed she relied too heavily on Sherpas and other climbers to help her descend when things got difficult. In one controversial incident on Everest in 1992, it was reported that she needed help to descend and left others to carry her load. The press framed it as a near triumph, but within the mountaineering community, eyebrows were raised. Another accusation came from a 1996 Muckaloo expedition, where fellow climbers alleged that Chantal refused to assist another mountaineer in trouble. Though unproven, these stories clung to her like frostbite, eating away at her once immaculate reputation. She never carried a rope, one climber reportedly said. She carried a camera. Was it jealousy, misogyny, or had Chantal truly crossed lines in her quest to summit? The final climb, Dhaulagiri, 1998. By 1998, Chantal had already summited 6 of the world's 14 8,000-meter peaks. Her goal was to climb all 14 without supplemental oxygen, a dream achieved by very few, especially women. In May of that year, she set her sights on Dhaulagiri, the seventh highest mountain in the world. At 8,167 meters, Dhaulagiri is notorious for avalanches and brutal weather. Chantal joined a small expedition, climbing alongside a Sherpa named Tendi and several others. But even as she ascended, storm clouds, literal and metaphorical, gathered. On the morning of May 13, 1998, she was found dead in her tent at Camp 4, just below the summit. The cause of death was likely suffocation during the night, possibly from pulmonary edema, a common killer at high altitude. She was 34 years old. The news sent shockwaves through the mountaineering world. Tributes poured in from across the globe. The French alpine community mourned her. Nepalese villagers wept. A school was later named after her in Kathmandu. But not everyone mourned. From hero to villain, almost immediately after her death, an unsettling silence fell over many in the climbing community. Some refused to speak of her. Others, when pressed, shared grim tales. She was a good climber, one anonymous expedition member said, but she always expected to be rescued. Several climbers spoke out, anonymously or cautiously, suggesting that her charm and media savvy protected her reputation, while others quietly bore the burden of her mistakes. There was talk that she often climbed with little equipment, confident someone else would bail her out if things went wrong. There were stories of her abandoning partners or being rescued without returning the favor. In a brutal epitaph, American climber Ed Viesters, who never climbed with Chantal but was familiar with the rumors, commented, "She took, but she did not give." It was a sharp fall from grace. The same community that once celebrated her turned its back. Her legacy became a battleground between those who saw her as a trailblazer and those who saw her as reckless and self-serving. The gendered lens. It's impossible to talk about Chantal Maudit's life without addressing the gender dynamics of mountaineering. She was one of the few women in a brutal, male-dominated world. Many of the criticisms leveled at her, being difficult, needing help, hogging the spotlight, are similar to those faced by other pioneering women across fields. Was she really more dependent than her male counterparts? Or were her failures simply magnified because she was a woman? Did her beauty work against her, making her seem like a model first, climber second in the eyes of jealous peers? Or did she carefully craft a brand that ultimately collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions? In death, Chantal became a symbol, not just of the dangers of high-altitude climbing, but the perilous tightrope women walk when they enter male-dominated arenas. Legacy and reappraisal. More than 25 years after her death, Chantal Maudit's story continues to provoke strong opinions. Her grave on Dhaulagiri remains a pilgrimage site for climbers, especially women inspired by her courage. Her name adorns schools and charitable projects in Nepal, thanks to the Chantal Mauduit Foundation, which continues her work in the Himalayas. Some see her as a misunderstood icon, a victim of sexist smear campaigns, and a relentless drive to be seen as worthy. Others remain critical, seeing her as someone who played fast and loose with the ethics of climbing. But perhaps her story is not one of hero or villain, but something more complicated, something human. A woman who loved the mountains more than anything, who climbed until she could climb no more. Chantal Maudit's life was a paradox, radiant and tragic, courageous and controversial. She chased summits not just for glory, but because they gave her meaning in a world where she often felt like an outsider. Her elegance and strength captivated the public, while her decisions on the mountain divided her peers. But beyond all the debate, Chantal was a woman who dared to live on her own terms. Her death on Dhaulagiri left more questions than answers, but maybe that's fitting. The mountains don't explain themselves, and neither did Chantal. She was a soul drawn to the edge, not for fame, but for freedom. And in that pursuit, she burned brilliantly, if briefly. Today, her legacy is complex but lasting. The children helped by her foundation, the women she inspired climb, and the high peaks that still whisper her name all stand as quiet proof of a life lived fully. In the end, Chantal wasn't meant to be understood, only remembered, not as perfect, but as passionate, not as flawless, but as fearless. And somewhere, far above the clouds, she is still climbing, untamed, unforgotten, and finally free. Conclusion: She was loved, then hated, then dead. That haunting triptych sums up Chantal Maudit's life more powerfully than any tombstone. She was adored for her beauty, ambition, and daring spirit. Then came the whispers, the judgments, the disillusionment, and finally, a lifeless body in a tent on Dhaulagiri, claimed not just by the mountain, but by the myths she helped build. Chantal Mauduit reached for the heavens and touched greatness. But like so many who chase the sublime, she left behind a story filled with questions, contradictions, and echoes. In the end, the mountain kept her secrets, and so, perhaps, should we. Thank you for joining us in exploring the extraordinary and complicated life of Chantal Mauduit, a woman who lived and died on her own terms. Her story is one of beauty, controversy, courage, and an unrelenting pursuit of freedom in the world's highest places. Whether she was loved or hated, what's undeniable is that she made an impact that still echoes through the mountains and the lives she touched. If you found this story powerful or thought-provoking, please give this video a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth stories about the lives that changed the world. One step, one summit, one legacy at a time. Chantal's life reminds us that greatness often comes with complexity, that true pioneers are rarely simple or safe. Her triumphs and her flaws made her human, and that humanity is what makes her unforgettable. We hope her journey inspired you as much as it did us. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story like this. Thanks for watching.